Hi everyone, Anthony Wintano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new A$AP Rocky album, Testing. Harlem rapper and A$AP Mob figurehead A$AP Rocky is back with his third full-length commercial album since breaking out in 2011 with his pretty incredible Live Love A$AP mixtape, a psychedelic, cutting-edge, and one-of-a-kind project that I still enjoy quite a bit to this day. Following this mixtape, A$AP Rocky had a successful debut record, hit songs, a growing profile, a gigantic major label record deal. It looked like there was really no place to go but up for Rocky and the rest of the mob. In the first half of this decade anyway. Since 2015 though, the potential that A$AP Rocky showed has been continually squandered, with a painfully mediocre and bloated follow-up album At Long Last A$AP, a record that embraced Rocky's cloud rap origins but somehow failed to carry over the catchy songwriting and slick flows and lyricism that also made him as popular as he is. Not to mention the consistently embarrassing group releases the A$AP Mob have dropped again and again and again, or the mob's inability for any single member to grab the spotlight consistently in the same way that Rocky has. It's kind of nice the group brought Playboi Carti into the fold around 2016. Certainly shows they're not down and out and they're still looking forward, but most of the time I just kind of see Carti as someone who's doing his own thing. Now, while Testing is not the continually flavorless and washed out slog that At Long Last A$AP was, it somehow sounds just as lost in the woods. I mean, certainly this record is an extension of that whole cloud rap sound and vibe and aesthetic that A$AP Rocky is known for, but rarely are the sounds on this album actually euphoric or blissful or overwhelming or intoxicating in the way that great music in this genre should be. Mostly a lot of the strange samples and psychedelic effects and random ad-libs and vocal snippets come off kind of sloppy or unkempt, especially since the songwriting on this thing is generally lackluster and doesn't really have a whole lot of structure to it. On top of that, Rocky's voice feels mostly buried in a lot of the chaos on these songs. The delays, the reverbs, the strange effects and samples. It's like he's working with his producers to just pack as much as he possibly can into nearly every track here because he knows his lyrics, he knows his flows are not going to steal the spotlight. Because his style, his delivery, really his anything hasn't changed all that much in the past 7 years. In fact, I would say Rocky sounds less enthusiastic now than he's ever been. When this record is at its best, Rocky picks a hard-hitting or quirky or just kind of trippy or psychedelic piece of production, drops a catchy flow, has some kind of semblance of a hook. Praise the Lord is an excellent example of this. The song features the sharp little harmonized flute leads, bumping bass, a crucial Skepta feature. Rocky's opening verse on this one is one of the most braggadocious and slick on the entire album. Then we have the strangely glossy and surreal Buckshot, which features these icy synthesizers, these really engaging beat drops and effects, some rattling trap hi-hats as well, and it's one of the few moments on the album where all of these hallucinogenic implications in the production actually add up into an enjoyable experience. It doesn't just feel like an overwrought distraction from a clear lack of a song idea. The song OG Beeper is pretty hot as well, features a strange and very eerie synth line, very prominent Block Boy JB ad-libs, a very minimal beat. I think this track overall is kind of a display of the power of simplicity, although there is kind of an eyebrow-raising reference to 6ix9ine's Gummo flow in the latter points of the song, which I'm not exactly sure is this a tribute to him? Is this a shot at him? I'm not really sure. It's about as head-scratching as the abrupt ending on this song because, I mean, it really is one of the better tracks on here. I don't know why it couldn't have had a proper finish. So what else can I praise on here? Frank Ocean's appearance on Purity is absolutely amazing, really a high point on the entire album. I also love all of the twisted and pitched vocal harmonies and layers throughout this track, kind of sounds like something off of a James Blake song. And Rocky's finishing verse on this track is actually one of the more heartfelt on the entire record too. The Kid Cudi feature on this album is tolerable, but outside of that, I'm just not sure what to say. Most of the tracks on this thing are either an utter mess or just severely underwhelming. The song A$AP Forever lives up to its title in that it literally feels like it's going on forever. What makes this song appealing? Is it the boring, shimmery Moby sample, whose source material is needlessly rehashed at the very end of the song? Like, we know where the chords came from. They sound mostly undoctored. We didn't really need to hear it in its full form at the finish of the track. Is it the really drab and flat beat that barely has a groove to it? Is it Rocky's unenthusiastic delivery? This is easily one of the most uninteresting singles you've ever dropped. The instrumental on Tony Tone sounds pretty slick. There are some cool and very deep musical references that Rocky peppers throughout his verses, but his delivery just sounds kind of jaded. And I'm not really sure what the appeal of the interrupting ad-libs and vocal snippets on this track are either. And while Rocky insists that he doesn't give a fuck about a list, there's another spot on the album where he says that if he's gonna be in your top 10, he better be number 1. If the song Fuck Sleep is an indication of anything, it's that you really do need sleep. You should get some sleep, because you literally sound half asleep on the track. Maybe that was conceptual or intentional in some kind of way, but it hasn't really helped the appeal or the entertainment value of the song. And FKA Twigs, while I love her, I think her music is great, I don't mind her vocal performance here, the song is really just too much of a mess for her to save it or add to it in any way artistically that's going to improve it overall. I really gotta give it to RCA Records for letting a total mess like Call Drops slip onto this album. I guess the label is really pro-artistic freedom if something like this can land on testing. The track features this jangly guitar sample that sounds kind of leaned out. A$AP Rocky's Drop Tops vocal melody sounds like a subconscious interpolation of the background vocals on that Flamengo song, I Only Have Eyes for You. And the song is mostly just A$AP Rocky singing in a comatose fashion over these very dreamy guitars, with Kodak Black later on the track providing a feature over the phone from prison. In concept, I feel like this track should be one of the most experimental and interesting of A$AP Rocky's career. The spacey instrumental, the heavy use of guitar, the psychedelic effects, even Dean Blunt is on this track, of all people. The Kodak Black phone appearance, on paper, all of it sounds really cool, but in practice, it's just slop. The song Brother Man is a much smarter and much more tasteful infusion of hip-hop and soul, with a lot of very jazzy, dynamic backing instrumentation, dreamy strings and pianos, really rich backing vocals. It's a super engaging and sweet moment on the album, but the insistence on having to fight for something or stand for something in the messaging of the song just kind of disconnects for me, because A$AP Rocky doesn't really stand for that much in the lyrics or that much in his music in general. Even though the track sounds cool, at the end of the day it just kind of feels like an empty platitude or a hollow promise. There are more warped guitars, trap beats, and awful singing on the song Kids Turned Out Fine. On the song Changes, A$AP Rocky essentially sounds like an emotionally crushed Hobo Johnson nabbing the Andre 3000 International Players Anthem flow to rap about a girl who left him and essentially how exes and friends of his are kind of moving on and getting hitched and living adult lives. The track makes numerous weird transitions from ghostly vocal samples to bad auto-tuned singing passages, a totally unexpected beat switch with some pretty subpar rap verses, then coming back to the original sound of the song with A$AP kind of admitting he has a hard time focusing. Then he's rapping about what, being like a mix of Biggie and Tupac? Like, no, please, stop. Stop this. Stop. Look, I think there's some interesting ideas on this album here and there. The issue is that they are not performed or organized all that well a great deal of the time. A$AP Rocky is an awful singer, and he's barely holding it together as a rapper these days. The songs on this thing have no flow and just feel cobbled together. Sure, while some moments here might seem kind of experimental and A$AP Rocky is just kind of throwing everything in but the kitchen sink, there's not really a strong sense of direction overall on this record. Nor does this thing really feel like an example of A$AP Rocky doing what he does best. Or at least, I don't know, try to top himself or improve or I'm feeling a strong 4 to a light 5 on this album. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Just leave an angry comment in the comments if you're feeling angry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up, or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, A$AP Rocky, forever.